So thanks, Dara. Great, lovely, great to be able to follow that act. So I'll do my best and try and be even half as entertaining. So, because it's a workshop about the circular economy, obviously we thought it was important to say, where does reuse and recycling fit into the circular economy? And realistically, from everything that you've heard this morning, I think we're all aware, reuse and recycling are an integral part of the circular economy. So rather than taking that one thing, using it once and chucking it over your shoulder into the landfill, that you're going to reuse and we're going to recycle stuff. So reuse stuff as much as it possibly can, and if it can't be reused, then the component parts are recycled. And it's just how the circular economy works. So it's what we do, what our members do, is an integral part of the circular economy. So going back to a lot of the points that people have made earlier, it's alive and well, but we just could be doing an awful lot more of it in Ireland. I don't need to go talk about why it's all good, because we know there's a lower carbon footprint and extending the product life cycles is a really good thing. So rather than dwelling on stuff, I'm not going to go through this in detail. That's just the kind of materials that our members either reuse and or recycle. Some of the members do more than one thing, but that's generally what they do. Obviously, all of this information is on our website, and I'd be very much encouraging you to have a look at our website at some stage over the next few days, because there's some really useful information there. But we do an awful lot in terms of upcycling, reuse. That's on the textile, furniture side. The mattresses are an issue, because I'm not sure how many people want to buy a second-hand mattress, though when you think about it, when you stay in a hotel, you sleep on a second-hand mattress, regardless of how much you spend in the hotel. So they're the kinds of things that have to be recycled, and then you've got E and we, and obviously a lot of the stuff can't be recycled, but can't be reused, but can definitely be recycled, and the components reused. So I don't have 2016 figures, I'm still waiting for some of our members to come through, but in 2015, and bearing in mind this is 16 members, so it's not a huge number of companies really when you think of the size of Ireland, and overall about 39,000 tonnes. So that's a reasonably substantial amount, and of that about 24,000 tonnes was reused and about 15,000 tonnes recycled. And on the reuse side, a huge part of that was textile reuse, and that's coming from our member, the Irish Charity Shops Association. Charity shops are at the forefront of reuse. I leave this conference and say, gosh, I'm not going to wear this blouse again. Wash it, give it to the local charity shop. They hang it on a hanger, and somebody comes in and pays €2 for it. Actually, they should pay more than that. So it's reuse in action, because nothing happens to that blouse except it's just reused again exactly for it's the same purpose. And then on the social economy side, because obviously an awful lot of our members are social enterprises, they're creating a lot of jobs. They're working with the Department of Social Protection, using a lot of their community enterprise programs in terms of employment. So people are getting work with them who really have a distance to travel to the labour market. And that's the nature of reuse and recycling. It can't pay very much. Financially, it's hard to make it work. But they're the kind of people who get jobs, and jobs that give them real value and feel that they're making a huge contribution to the economy. And then they provide thousands of training opportunities across the spectrum, so that be that in the mattress recyclers or the wee recyclers like Rehab or a charity shop. And then it's always good to have the nice colourful pictures, so that's the kind of stuff that our members are happy to take and either recycle or reuse. So there's a huge variety of materials there. So Community Reuse Network is funded by the EPA, thanks Dara, and I see Shane here as well from the EPA, under the National Waste Prevention Programme. And one of our main focus areas obviously is to promote reuse. But also we need to know what are the asks, what are we looking for, what are our members looking for. So last year we designed and came out with a policy paper. There's a fair bit to it, but actually it's a really interesting read, and I would encourage you to go to the website and have a look at it. So I've just pulled out a couple of key things that we're looking for, and again going back to a lot of what people said, improving design and eliminating waste. And one of the things that strikes me is, you know, we talk about electronics and they say, oh, well, sure, all those Apple phones and Samsung devices, wherever, they're all made abroad. So that's not an area that we can influence. Hands up, who's heard of PCH technology? Yeah. So PCH is one of the most successful Irish companies that nobody has ever heard of, because they manufacture pretty much usually in China, but they design here. Liam Casey has his headquarters for that company in Cork. So if you can get to talk to a company like PCH and say, can you design better? Can you build this in for the products that you're designing for your customers? Can you design those so that you're using screws instead of glue? Something really simple. That could have a major impact on the people who are looking at E and we, so that when you're trying to take apart that phone to repair it or reuse it, that it's an awful lot easier to do than it currently is. Changing behaviour, again, we've all spoken about this, and I have a slide on that in just a moment. Just trying to get reuse on the level playing field with recycling, because we feel it often plays second fiddle. And again, going back, supporting community. The jobs that our member companies provide are generally in those those more disadvantaged areas. So it's really important that they're able to grow their businesses in the locations that they're currently in. So, you know, how do reuse and recycling relate to the circular economy? And as I feel anyway, they're an integral part of the circular economy, because we need to use less of those raw materials, we need to use them better, and we need to use them for longer, because there is a finite amount of these materials. And I know certainly Professor Norton referred to that quite a bit. And one of the things that I think will happen is that companies won't do anything because it's good for the environment. And I think I don't think anybody's going to contradict me when I say that. Companies will do things because it's good for the bottom line, or because they need to protect their supply chain. So they will start doing stuff that's more environmentally friendly and aware, simply because they know that they cannot continue to pull stuff out of the ground, use it, and not worry about what happens to it when it's at the end of life. So we see, as a network, we see, you know, as the circular economy develops, as it will, as companies become more engaged with this because they're protecting their supply chain, or because they're also coming under shareholder pressure, which is also another pressure point, that this will help break down the barriers, because it's still easier and cheaper generally to buy new than buy second-hand, and we need to get past that if we're going to develop the economy, the circular economy as a whole. So we've spoken a lot today, and we've heard a lot today about changing customer behaviour, and I think that's vital. So we, under the Green Enterprise Funding Programme, have just kicked off a project yesterday to look at the feasibility study for a quality mark. So it's saying, okay, you know, we can upcycle all this stuff, we can take this stuff and you know, reuse it or whatever, but we need demand for it. It's all very well that I go to the charity shop and give them my blouse and they sell it, but I also then need to go to the charity shop and say, gosh, can I pick something up? You know, can I buy something here? And by the same token, if we're giving stuff away, we also need to say, well, actually, could I buy something, or could I get something redone or reupholstered instead of buying something new? So the idea is to look at a quality mark. Is that a barrier? You know, if every upcycled product in the country had a quality mark, would people be more inclined to buy it? And we simply don't know whether that's the case or not. So rather than saying, let's develop a quality mark and it'll be great and people will buy stuff, let's see, is that the barrier we think it is? There's lots of learnings from abroad. Scotland have the Revolve mark, and they've had reasonably good success with it, but they've had a huge amount of learnings, which thankfully they're willing to share with us. And then is that something that you maybe attach to a product, or do you attach to a company? I mean, Board BIA, the Origin Green programme, companies get it. You know, you don't get a Board BIA Origin stamp on every pork chop that you buy. You're buying from the company that has the stamp. Is that an option? Could you use it as a branding tool, you know, because it's all about marketing and making something cool, so is it less about a quality mark and more about a branding tool? So it's a really interesting time for this project to kick off. I think it's very timely, and we expect the project to run for about a year or just over, so hopefully if NESC runs something like this in a year's time, we'll be close to telling you what findings have come about from that. And then I always think, you know, when I go to conferences and workshops and I take loads of notes and it's all very exciting, and I'm like, gosh, I must download those slides, and you know, it's great. And then you know, you go back and oh God, I have to look at that email. It's already busy, you know. So you know, how often do you actually go back and look at those slides? So I always like to give people a few takeaways. And as consumers, and that's what we are, folks. I look around and we talk about the circular economy, but we're all part of it, and I think we need to be the people that are saying we're part of it. And we're doing our bit because we can encourage, we're engaged, we're passionate about this area, whether it's because of what we do or it's just because of the way we are. But we need to get better at communicating that message to the people that we live with and we work with. So, you know, wear those clothes for longer. This suit is 7 years old. And I have no intentions of giving it to the charity shop, I can tell you. But you know, wear your clothes and wear them for a bit longer, and then make sure, give them to your registered charity shop. You'll find there's probably at least 10 within 10 kilometres of your house. Make sure your old mattress gets recycled. I know that's easier said than done. Boomerangs in Cork and Eco Mattresses in Dublin, both members, but certainly try. The regional waste authorities obviously organised Reuse Month in October last year, and I'm delighted that they're running that initiative again this year, so it's something to think about. Keep using your IT equipment, folks. My phone, I have 2 phones on my desk there. One of them is 5 years old, a positive dinosaur. All it needed was a new battery, so it got a new battery. So, you know, just because Apple or Samsung or Google, whoever it is, bring out the nice shiny new one doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and buy it. So maybe just think about using it for longer. And then obviously bring it to your registered collection centre to make sure it gets recycled. And then, you know, if you're running a business, or even if you're working in government departments, you know, what happens your waste? What happens the stuff that you get rid of? Could somebody use that? Obviously, one of our members is Smile, it's industrial symbiosis, taking the waste from one company and giving it to somebody else who uses it as a resource. And again, do you have to buy new? Does your phone have to be new? Does your laptop have to be new? I was out at rehab there a couple of weeks ago, and they've just shelves of amazing looking laptops, and they've all been refurbished, and so they'll work like new and they're about 1/3 of the cost. So that's something maybe for the green public procurement. You know, does it have to be new? And finally, I'll say reusable water bottle and reusable coffee cup. I think it's quite sad. I go to the local cafe every morning with my reusable coffee cup. I'm very smug about it as I go down the road. I've been going there for 6 months, as long as I've been working in CRNI. I am still their only customer with a reusable cup. So whatever we're doing, we're not doing it right, because we're still not getting the message. That's with all the media attention about coffee cups and everything like that. Generally, people are still going in, glug, 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 into the waste bin. So I think we're doing well. I think we need to do more of it, but I also think we need to think about the communication, and obviously a lot of that is education, both in schools, but at home as well. And as I say, that comes back to us. So our website is crni.ie. There's all the details about our members. The white policy paper is on that. It's not particularly long, so you'd read it in a few minutes. We tweet reasonably regularly, and if anybody has any follow-up questions, please drop me an email at info@crni. Thank you very much.